to the Season 73 SBA draft. We got so many good picks available. We're going to the second round with good picks, good second round picks, but that's all going to start right now. We have the Jokers on the clock. They can come in and select at any time. So let's not waste any and get right into what happened earlier this week in the draft lottery. This draft lottery went the way of many in our past years. We had the most likely teams falling their maximum amount. Pittsburgh, they had the number one odds at 28%. It's their own pick. They fell all the way down to 5. That's the most they could do. The New York Rail, they had the Las Vegas Jokers pick. That was at 20%. They fell down their maximum to the 6th pick. Boston, they did a trade with Miami. They got the 16% odds, third highest. They dropped their maximum to 7. The only team in the top 4 to remain in the top 4 was the Los Angeles Rush, and they are at the 3rd pick. But that means we had 3 teams jump on up. Las Vegas, their pick, the one that was actually tied to their team's performance, fell, but the 2 they had did pretty well. They had the Philadelphia pick, that stayed at 10, still a decent pickup for them. And then their Charlotte pick, which had 8% odds, happened to win the jackpot, went all the way up to 1, and they're going to be our first pick of the night. Mexico City, right after them, they had the 3% pick. That jumped all the way up to 2nd. And Milwaukee, who got the 4th, had the 2%. That's the second lowest odds. They get the 4th pick. And that's enough of the lottery for now. Let's move on to what Las Vegas wants with that first pick. Las Vegas Jokers. Right now, they are in a major rebuild, being one of 2 teams unable to even get 10 wins in this latest season. They really have only one major asset, Big Papa Floppa. This kid can ball. He has been in the league for just a little bit. He's still young enough that when they pull in all these players from this draft, they're on the same timeline and can lead to a successful future. He is struggling in one major area. Big Papa Floppa is one of the least aggressive players in the league, and the fact that he's still such a major asset just shows how good he is at other facets of the game. He shoots 4.9. That's how many he makes on average in a game. That is his best year ever. He needs help offensively, but what he's good at, he is not just good at, he is great at. Let's take a look at some of those numbers. Throughout Big Papa's career, he has 13.1 assists in his rookie year, 11.5 in his sophomore, and his 11.1 in current. That number might be seeming like it's getting worse, but you have to keep it in context to the team around him. They need someone now that can grow with Floppa and make this team. I've just received word the first pick is in. We're going to the audio recording.
With the first pick in the Season 73 draft, the Las Vegas Jokers select young boy SBA.
Now this move makes complete sense. For those of you who don't know, Kent Stein, one of the most successful SBDL coaches, happens to be the man in charge right now in Las Vegas. So he has those connections to the Barons where young boy SBA has played the last 2 years. Young boy had a great burst this last season, going from around 10 points a game to around 25. Huge offensive potential. They have the coach connection. It makes complete sense for this to be the pickup. I think young boy is going to do great on the Vegas team, and he of course has another teammate coming in at 10. Now, let's take a look at what Mexico City might want to add to theirs. Unlike the Jokers, the Ocelots are not rebuilding. They are ready to go. They have Roman Rose. They have A-Train. 2 of the most highly decorated players in the league with a supporting cast that works. They have good stock numbers. They have everything you need. They're not looking for something to build up. They're looking for something to go over the edge. What is that edge? I think their weakness, efficiency. They have one of the best scorers in the league in Roman Rose. A-Train ain't so shabby, but they lack a lot of ways to make you focus on other players. I feel what they need is either someone who can get that ball in the right place. They already have Dirty Banana. He does a great job, but nothing wrong with having a second guy. Or they need a 3-and-D guy that can really just spread the floor while also aiding them on the other end of the court. Now, position-wise, you're looking for someone who kind of fills in the gaps. You have A-Train and Dirty Banana at the guards. There is going to be some time when they're not in the field, so maybe you could fit someone in there. But really what you're most likely going to try and do is fill in the position that's not being taken in right now by Roman Rose. Roman Rose can do center, he can do power forward, so you want to try and fill that in with whatever you can. And you could also fill in the small forward position if you're willing to take out the current guy. That said, we're going directly to the pick. It's live right now.
With the second pick in the season 73 draft, the Mexico City Ocelots select Gareth Lennox Upshaw.
Gareth Lennox Upshaw is a fantastic pick. This man plays the small forward and the point guard, and he happens to have all the traits that the Mexico City Ocelots are looking for. He's a great passer. He is good on those passing lanes trying to get steals, and he knows how to make a three-point shot. He fills in all the roles. Fantastic pick. He did great this year in the SBDL. I can't wait to see what he does moving on to this playoff-ready team. Now, we have a little bit of time. The Rush are on the clock. They can pick any moment now. But let's talk about what they are looking for, because they are not a playoff-ready team. Right now, the main assets that the Rush have is a youthful backcourt. They have Ignacio Fuego, who was drafted just this last season, and they traded for Jack George. And those two are basically all that's really going on here. They have some veterans. They have the Clue Glue Goblin. They have Shavante Giddy. They are not, however, really relying on them for the future of this team. Ignacio Fuego has an unnaturally high efficiency in just about everything. He is currently shooting a .615 true shooting percentage, and along with this, a .425 three-point percentage, and a .812 free throw percentage. He is money from everywhere on the court. He's only doing 17.6 points per game. He's not high volume, but when he puts up shots, he makes it. Jack George, on the other hand, is a much higher volume shooter. When we take a look at his numbers, he has a .589 true shooting percentage. That's not terrible for a guard. It's not Ignacio Fuego numbers, but he is taking a lot more shots. He has a .396 three-point percentage, but he shoots a little bit more three-pointers, so it makes sense he makes a little bit less of them. He takes the brunt of the offensive load. What both these guys need is either someone to work on the defensive end or someone on the facilitating end that can make these two great scorers really work for the good of the team. Now, what are the weaknesses of this squad? Well, they're not very good, first off. They are terrible rebounders. They need a rebounding guy. Whether you're getting that facilitator, whether you're getting that defender, whether you're grabbing anyone you can, they better be grabbing, because they need some board. They need someone to do everything, essentially. So it's fine if you don't get it all in one person. But they have a lot to work on, and they are ready to pick. We're going live.
The third pick in the season 73 draft, the Los Angeles Rush select Caden Friedrich.
Now, this isn't the pick I was expecting. Caden Friedrich does not match what I thought the Rush were looking for. I do not think he is a great player. But although he does make some playmaking skills, he's not defensive despite his big man position. He doesn't rebound particularly well. He is really athletic, has good vision. There's a lot of positives, but it's not what I thought the Rush would be looking for. Let's assume here that they have talked to the player and they know what they need out of him and they're willing to get it out of him. Now, the Maulers have a really good core here. The timelines are a bit off. You have Cosmo Kramer, BRK, Blaze Carter, Fela Abiola. These are, with the exception of Blaze Carter, fairly old players in the league. So you're looking for someone that can win now. You're not looking for a building project. You might get someone to go with Blaze Carter, but for the most part, they are in a win now scenario. So, what do they need? Fella is probably gonna fall off, it's just that age thing, and Cosmo's not far behind, so I would most likely assume they want a guard. BRK and Blaze Carter are both offensive juggernauts. They're pretty good at defense as well, so a playmaker that can do everything kind of makes sense. I feel like a guard's coming up. Now, whether or not they do pick a guard, we're not going to have to wait long because we're going live right now.
With the 4th pick in the season's 73 draft, a Milwaukee Muller select. Lemony Snicket.
It comes to picks that could do everything. Lemony Snicket is that pick. This is a point guard. He's 6'5", he's not super tall, and yet in the SBDL he was pulling down 11 boards. He was a 20-point scorer, 11 rebounder, and 11 assister. He not only got the TD average, he went above and beyond, all while being efficient. He got .438 from the field. Sorry, .463 from the field, .438 from three-point. He is a monster player, and the Milwaukee Maulers are going to be very happy to have him come in and replace the aging backcourt and become the next great Milwaukee point guard. Now on the clock, we have Pittsburgh. Let's take a look at what their strengths are and what their needs are. Coming into this draft, Pittsburgh was the worst team. They had the highest odds, and they were unfortunate enough to fall this far in the draft. Now, there's plenty of great players left on the draft board, and they have their selection right now. So they have more than enough talent to pick and choose from. Basically, anyone here is going to help them. They have two main assets at this time. One, they have cohesion. In terms of teams, they are one of the few with a theme. It has not played out well, but they have a theme. And then they have Shaquille Qureshi, the third, who is from a great line of players. He's playing center for him, and he's doing fantastic. Anyone besides the center, it's going to be a good pick. Anyone besides the center, going to be great. All right, we're going live to the draft.
With the 5th pick in the season's 73 draft, the Pittsburgh Ironmen select Matt Thomas III.
Matt Thomas III, the three-point specialist from the Resistance. This guy has been showing out the entire year. He's been making an average of 24.2 points. His other numbers are not too high, but when you're looking for is the potential to be great, he can prosper in Pittsburgh. They have all the shots in the world for him to take. Who knows how good he'll get by the time he ends up in his later years of his career. That three-point shot might be more than deadly. In terms of the fit, like I said earlier, I think anyone really could fit into here. But Matt Thomas III, if he wanted a place where he can get the ball and he can score, it's just him and Shaheel. So, go wild, my man. Have fun. And make Pittsburgh a better team. I want to see him in the playoffs sometime soon. It's been too long. It's been too long. After that pick, we have the New York Rail now on the clock. They have a team that has been ups and downs. They had that big drama in the last couple years with Hollywood Livin' and Kino Akara. They are in a very strange predicament. They have a lot of young pieces. They got Kino Akara, they got Tumas Tali, they got Kovesh Tolatlek Braves, and Ambrose Sharp. They are ready for this next person. Jared Blair, who is their only veteran at the moment, one of the best players in the league, has announced their retirement, so he's only playing for one more year. That means they basically have that open pick. Kino Akara, big man, center power forward. Tumas Tali only plays small forward. Kovesh Talat Braves plays small forward, power forward. What does that mean? You are not drafting a center, small forward, or power forward, because all those positions are locked up. They don't need any of that. Ambrose Sharp, he is the guard. He plays both positions, so they just want someone to fit one of those positions. They're taking a guard here. If they don't, I don't know what they're doing. Now, the Rail are a playoff team. We can only expect them to get better as these young pieces grow into the team. Kino Akara is definitely their biggest asset. He is an offensive monster, and he's only going to get better from here. The biggest weakness for the Rail is a lack of facilitator and a lack of rebounding. The rebounding, I feel like that's going to come in age as these players get older. So I think my bet would be they take a guard that passes. They are really good at efficiency. They make the three-point shots. They make the free throws. They are just not good at passing the ball, and that leads to a lot of turnovers. They are turnover heavy. And it looks like it's not going to take them too long as we're going live.
With the 6th pick in the season 73 draft, the New York Rail select Marcus Slade.
Now, Marcus Slade does fit They are going to have to make him get off that small forward position. He's been playing for the Hounds, but he has been known to go over to shooting guard, so that's what he's going to do. In terms of does he fit the bill for what they need, he's definitely pass heavy. In terms of his skill set, he's more rounded than you would usually get, and that's probably what they're looking for. They got enough offense. They need someone to fill in the gaps. He gets 19.3 points, about 12 rebounds, and 7.7 assists. He does everything. I think he's going to be a good fit to grow with this young team, and he's going to replace Jared Blair when he retires. Well, more specifically, Ambrose is, but he's going to take the side position there. So, I think that's all going to work out just fine. And now moving on to the Boston Minutemen, their pick is up next, and hold up, in true Boston fashion, we have a trade coming in. The Boston Minutemen are trading with Oklahoma City Rampage in exchange for this 7th overall pick. Boston is getting the 12th overall pick, the season 74 Boston first, and Patrice Lumumba. So instead of talking about the Minutemen, we're going to move over to the Oklahoma City Rampage. Now, the Rampage specialize, they're about average in most things. They suffer a bit in blocks, they suffer a bit in fouls, but they're very good on that offensive glass and in getting those points in, which of course is the name of the game. They have some very powerful players here. They have Camden Pofanen, they have Suhab Hussein. Besides this though, they really lack a lot of what they need to get back to that high playoff level. I think their biggest thing is defense. In general, they have two great offensive players that kind of do a bit of everything. Camden Pofanen, Suhab Hussein. They need a defensive anchor that's not Pofanen. Pofanen's good on defense. They need another person, because right now they're giving up way too many easy shots. And let's hope they found that, because we're going live to the draft.
With the 7th pick in the season 73 draft, the Oklahoma City Rampage select Ana Maria Lasmanis.
Ana Maria Lasmansis is a great pick for them. They have everything they need there already in terms of the big man offense and the guard offense. So what do? They get a 3-and-D player. That is, of course, one of the most complementary player types in this league, and they get one of the best. She is a great stealer. She gets some blocks, which is very good to get from the guard position. That's tough. That means they try, and that means they have the eye and mindset to do it. Some of the things you're going to be looking for in her rookie year to kind of improve on, she's shooting at .391, which is good, but when you are doing that type of player as she is, you're going to hope you get that to at least .4. You want to be an elite 3-point shooter if you're focusing on the defensive end. Next season, with this pick and what else they might get in this draft, I feel like they have a real shot at going back to the above .500 club. They're going to start winning again. It's not a huge swing on her part, but I feel like this organization is built for winning, and that's what they want to do. And if they made this pick, I feel like they're confident it's going to help them do that. And now we're going back to Pittsburgh, the first team to have their 2nd pick so far this draft. Last time they took Matt Thomas III. As we talked about before, they have a lot of room. They don't really need anything, and they want everything. So now that they got a guard and they got their center, Shahil, they're probably going to take a forward. But in terms of what type of forward, and even then, they don't have to. They could take a center. They could take a guard. They can move anyone anywhere. They got all the flexibility in the world, so they can really just take whichever player they feel has the highest potential. And it looks like they were ready from last pick, because they're going right away again right now.
With the 8th pick in the season 73 draft, the Pittsburgh Ironmen select Anton Castillo.
Anton Castillo, now that's a pick. They took another big man, so he and Shahil are going to be twin towers down there in Pittsburgh. He currently, this season, has been putting up some impressive numbers on the Hyenas. He has a 26.8 points per game. He has some good stocks, a 1.5 and a 1.8, so he is more defensive, and that's something that they need everything, but defense is always something good to grab onto. This definitely gives them another core piece that they can build on into the future. Pittsburgh is going to be much better. Hopefully they can keep all these people, maybe grab a free agent in a year or two's time, and boom, they'll be right back in that playoff picture where I'll be happy to see them. And we're going off of that Pittsburgh pick right back to the Oklahoma City Rampage. They picked just... Hold on. I'm getting news. We have a trade. The Oklahoma City Rampage is sending their 9th overall to Las Vegas in exchange for the 22nd overall, a Season 74 Boston pick, and a Season 74 Charlotte pick. It looks like they're about to draft right away, and considering they also have the 10th pick, it seems they have both ready to go at the same time.
With the 9th pick in the Season 73 draft, the Las Vegas Jokers select Shacklelos Field. And with the 10th pick in the Season 73 draft, the Las Vegas Jokers select Bax Barnes.
Las Vegas has taken another pass-first point guard. It looks like they're doubling down on that movement-based offense. Shaquille O'Neal, one of the best passers in this draft class. He's also a defensive menace when it comes to taking those steals. He is a great pick in order to further what they're going for. They took that offensive pick last time. Now they're going even farther in facilitating. This offense, assuming that they can make all these players work, is going to be smooth. It's going to be fast. It's going to be efficient. This is looking great for Las Vegas. They gave up a lot for Spiel, so this is hopefully the exact person they were looking for. When it comes to Bax Barnes, the first thing I think of is stealing, and that's going to be just another thing added. We just talked about Spiel also being a great stealer. This defense, the passing lanes, they're going to be virtually impossible for the opposition to try and make an offense nearly as fluid as theirs. With both these picks happening around the same time, that means that this must be what Las Vegas wanted all along. They put a lot to essentially guarantee they get these two players. Let's see how that works out for them in the future, but for now, we're going to jump right back into the next pick. We're going to New York.
With the 11th pick in the Season 73 draft, the New York Rail select Knox Blood Fall.
Now, the Rail, they picked right away. We had some rapid-fire picks just happen. Haven't had enough time to really digest it all. But Knox Bloodfall is a center power forward. That means when we're looking at the Rail, he is most likely, unless a trade or a move happens, is going to be starting off on the bench. Now, this entire class, that's going to happen more and more as we get more players in. The team spots are going to lessen and lessen until some people are either going to have to make a decision about moving to another team or accept that they might have to spend more time on the bench than they may like. Now, in terms of the pick, though, Knox Bloodfall is a great player. We're talking about someone with a lot of potential. He reminds me a bit of Kino Akara, more of a inside-focused offensive player that has the physical athleticism to back it up. But the thing I really like about this pick is when we were talking about New York earlier, we were really focused on rebounding being one of the issues. And Knox, rebounding is not his issue. He is a fantastic rebounder, only bound to get better. He's really going to fill in some gaps that makes this New York Rail team not as good as it could be. If you remember, this pick comes from the trade with the Oklahoma City Rampage, the 7th for the 12th, and some other assets. Now, when Boston does decide to draft, they usually do so because there's a person that fits already into their dynamics. They do not like training up people. They want people that are good on defense, that will already know how to play the Boston Minutemen style of basketball. And it seems that person is on the board because we're going directly to the draft.
With the 12th pick in the Season 73 draft, the Boston Minutemen select Gary Benson.
Okay, let's take a look at what Jerry Benson brings to the table, and it is exactly what you're hoping for when it comes from a Boston player. Benson happens to fill out the positions needed. He plays shooting guard, power forward. Those are the weakest positions for Boston, and he happens to fill out explicitly that defensive end of the court. Let's take a look at some of his stats right here. You can see 1.7 steals and 2 blocks. That's some real good stockage while also shooting the 3 ball at a secondary rate. That's something Boston really likes, is players who shoot the 3 ball without expecting to be the number 1 option. And Jerry Benson is going to fit right into this dynamic. He's going to fit right into Boston, and they're going to go and they're going to continue being that defensive juggernaut they have been for the past couple of seasons. Now on the clock, we have the Inferno, another team that hasn't picked just yet, and they are also well stacked. They have Andrus Lamansis. That's their biggest strength. He's a big man. He's been doing fantastic since the day he stepped in this league, and not to be taken much further down, Cole Foster, another offensive powerhouse. David Switzer is entering free agency. We don't know if he's staying or not, but he's been a part of this team, and he's definitely someone I would consider a major asset. Now let's take a look at some of the weaknesses of the squad, though. What they do struggle at is turnovers. They are the worst in the league in turnovers. They're not as good as you would expect them to be in three-point shot percentage, and they are not doing as well on the defensive end either, with their steals needing some upgrades. Now, this is not to say they're not a fantastic team. They are doing so good on basically the rest of the available options. But when you have a team that's good, you have to pick some things that are bad. Position-wise, they could really take a guard, they could take a forward, they can move some people around, they have some room. And it looks like they've thought this through because we're going live for the draft.
With the 13th pick in the season 73 draft, the Arizona Inferno select Roranoa Zora.
Roranoa Zora played center for the Hounds. Obviously, he's going to get moved to the power forward when he starts on this Inferno squad. This guy has a lot of the things they are looking for. He, first off, does not have rebounding, but this is one of the few teams that doesn't need it. So instead, his focuses are focused on other things that are So instead, he has specialized into other things they need more. He is a great defensive big man. He has the stealing potential. He has the blocking potential. His physical body is ready for SBA basketball, and he can develop into whatever they need him to be in the future. Bringing just another defensive presence onto that already offensively great team is bound to do great things for the Inferno. And now we're moving on to the team that I think is currently the strongest in the SBA, the Ravens. The Ravens are fairly young with some standout names: Damian Stein, almost 0 fucks given, Gunnar Gonzalo, Rashida Ryder, and Kofi Anash, and Count Olaf. They have a lot of names, they have a lot of people. Whether or not this ends up being a draft for them where they're trying to get a sixth man or a future starter, it's really up to them. They don't need anything. If you take a look at their team, the only thing they really struggle with is turnovers, and that's going to happen with age. As these players, they already have to get older, that's going to fix itself. So they can really go off on whatever they want. They could do a little better assist-wise. Maybe they want to get a facilitator. That's really the only recommendation I give. The rest of it is just which player they think they can get the best out of. Houston seems to know what they want because we're going to the draft already.
With the 14th pick in the season 73 draft, the Houston Ravens select Stephen Adebayo.
Stephen Adebayo is, of course, one of the greater facilitators in this draft, so they did feel what little, they didn't have. This is, of course, going to be a great pick because Houston only makes great picks if history is to serve. So we look forward onto his career, and let's take a look at some of the numbers he did in the league. He was, of course, on the best team in the SBDL last season in the Barons. In terms of stats, he got 14.7 points, a little more than 10 rebounds, and about 8 assists. He was another everyman. We have a lot of those this year. Positionless basketball, people, it's becoming a thing. And more importantly, though, his steals are almost at the elite level. Presumably on that elite Ravens defense, he's going to learn how to do even better. Obviously, I do expect only great things for the Ravens as their history shows, so this is going to work, almost guaranteed. And let's move on to the next team up to draft. The Wolverines are next up on the clock. They are one of the best teams in the league, and this is just going to be another addition to their already deep and talented roster. Let's take a look at exactly what makes them good and what they might want to add to get even better. In terms of where they fail, it's where a lot of the really good teams fail. Turnovers, they get more than most teams. They're also a little bit behind in three-point percentage and blocks. They're one of the best teams in terms of movement and overall efficiency. So although they slack a little on the three-point line, their adjusted field goal percentage is through the roof. And their assists are 5th overall in the league. There's not many people that do it better than them. In terms of what they're looking for, they have just about everything already. They already have a elite Alexander Ozalins on the bench as their 6th man. They might want to give him a teammate. They might want to try and move for someone who may leave in the offseason or an offseason later. I don't know exactly. This is a front office thing where it's really behind the veil of SBA knowledge. It's up to them to decide what's best for the team. This is a hard one to make a prediction for. I think no matter what they do, it'll add to them, but I don't know if there's any right answer for them. But we'll find out because we just got it in. We're going live to the draft.
With the 15th pick in the season's 73 draft, the Vancouver Wolverines select Ezekiel Bridges III.
Ezekiel Bridges III had a fantastic 2 years on the Lightning, having a dramatic improvement from 30 points a season to 37 points a season without really dropping in efficiency, and in fact gaining all the way up to .484. He is a great offensive monster, and of course he has plenty of time to develop his other assets of the game. The Rush are up once again. Last time we saw them take a big man to go with their 2 guards. Let's see, what else are they thinking? Obviously they have a lot of room. They're still in the hole. Oh, they're ready to go right away. We're going straight to draft.
With the 16th pick in the season's 73 draft, the Los Angeles Rush select Jordan Hatfield.
Jordan Hatfield. Now that's one of the players that did not play in the SBDL, so we don't have as much knowledge in what his game is like as what we do on the other players. But if the Rush have selected him, we can assume that they do know what this player brings to the team. And considering they were picked over a number of very talented players, we can assume they're bringing a lot. So not a lot to say here, but excited for Hatfield to do some good work on the Rush. We're going back to Mexico City. They had the 2nd overall pick, if you remember, with Gareth Lennox Upshot. Now, he has had a 3-and-D career, so they were looking for more supportive members earlier in the draft. Let's see if they get more supportive people at this point in the chat. We're back to Mexico City. Earlier at number 2, they took Gareth Lennox Upshot. He is a supportive player, so let's see if they continue that trend or if they try and get more of a spark off the bench.
With a 17th pick in the season's 73 draft, the Mexico City Ocelots select Tyler Zetterberg.
Tyler Zetterberg. Now this is another more supportish player, so they're definitely not going for the spark, but he is great at a couple of things. We see his assists are pretty high at 7.7, and his 3-point percentage is decent at .411. That makes him efficient, and that means he can be an offensive option that really helps stick it to the people trying to double Roman Rose. Now, as we move on to Brooklyn, they have not had a pick yet this draft, and they are, of course, a rather good team. They have been for the past few years here. They have some very noticeably great players. Malik Washington, Paul Morphy. They're currently running with a veterans squad. They have Dixie Congo, they have Hollywood Living, and Colt Cooper, all who are past their prime but still significantly contributing to this team, and they obviously are doing great this year. They made the playoffs by leagues and miles. In terms of strengths and weaknesses, they have 3 major strengths, and that is free throw percentage, blocks, and defensive rebounds. They are 1, 1, and 2 in those in the league. So this is another team where I don't feel like they need anything, but in terms of position-wise, they do have some aging players, but they have enough aging players they can really just take anyone. So it's up to them. And with that, we're going to go right to the draft.
With the 18th pick in the season's 73 draft, the Brooklyn Bullets select Tiny Congo.
Now, Tiny Congo, as the name would suggest, is quite small. They are the smallest player in this draft, I believe, at 5 foot flat. However, that doesn't mean they don't have the skills to make it in the SBA. They have one of the best hands in the league when it comes to picking a pocket, getting 3.2 consistently throughout this last season in the SBDL. And although their points are not going super high, that's not what you really want out of them. What they do is on the other part of the courts, in the facilitating, in the rebounding, in the defense, they do have a lot to bring to the table. Now, Miami undertook a huge rebuild project. They had the number 1 pick in the last draft. They took Juha Jarvinen. That's definitely one of their major assets in this league right now. It's just their youth. They have quite a few people. Rene Sancoup, Paulo Ribeiro, Max Holzer. This is their core that they're trying to build up. In terms of positions, they have the center and forwards kind of filled out unless they want to move someone to the bench or if they want to try and make a trade. So they need a guard to go with Rene Sancoup. As is, they don't really have any major strengths or weaknesses besides just inexperience and youth. As they get better, they will get better. So there's nothing major they need to strike down right now, so it's really a which guard do you like the best scenario. Their team right now is super inexperienced and not going to be competing for a playoff berth next year, so they are focused on potential more than instant impact. And let's see exactly who they get on board to help with that problem as we go live to the draft.
With the 19th pick in the season 73 draft, the Miami Vice select Chi Afolabi.
Chi Afolabi was one of the mainstays in the Asylum for the last 2 years. They had some great seasons. Their scoring is not the focus point of their career so far. Instead, they rebound, they assist, and they get stocks, and they do it all at a fairly good rate. They are not a super specialized player. They're willing to go out and do just about anything the team needs, and that's what you're looking for when you're trying to get a team out into the open, away from those bottom of the board years and into the playoff years. You need someone who can get down and do whatever is necessary. We're back to the Ravens. As I mentioned, I think they're one of the deepest teams already in the league. Adding another person is going to make this team basically incapable of having a bad player on the floor. And that's just going to keep on adding to the dominance they've had for the last 2 decades and beyond. They don't need anything, so it's really just up to... And they're picking right away. We're going live to the draft.
With the 20th pick in the season 73 draft, the Houston Ravens select Tristan Etos.
Tristan Atos had a fantastic 3 seasons on the Hydra. They have consistently improved year after year, starting out with only 2.8 points and ending on 22.5 per game. Now, of course, that's a big minutes leap from the first season to the third, but even taking that into account, this is a massive improvement, and that's the hard work you want to see going into the league. Now, he still has some things to work on. His three-point percentage has been very dodgy throughout his career. He is getting better, though, going from .221 to .311. Hopefully, he can get up to that ever so elusive .4 that we're all looking for in our players. Earlier in this draft, they've taken Matt Thomas III and Anton Castillo, and that tells me they're really going for those hard hitters. Those are both people with high ceilings that need room to develop. So let's see, because we're going right to the draft.
With the 21st pick in the season 73 draft, the Pittsburgh Ironmen select Malone Freeman.
And this is one of the parts where we realize, even as we step into the second round, we finally see how deep this draft is, as Malone Freeman, in almost any other draft, would have been a top 10 pick, bar none. And now he's fallen all the way here. I wouldn't call it falling, but it's interesting to see just how far good players can go. And he is good. We see a lot of interesting things here. He's playing the small forward for the Resistance these last 2 years. He's scoring about 20 a game. He's getting about 10 rebounds a game. And all while doing this, he's also getting 2.2 steals and shooting decently efficiently from the three-point line when he needs to. We're going back to Oklahoma City. Their last pick in this draft was that number 7 they took last Manis. That is a 3-and-D guard. They have 2 offensive options already, so I imagine they're going to take another supporting member, and it looks like we're not going to have to take long to wait and see, because we're going live to the draft right now.
With the 22nd pick in the season 73 draft, the Oklahoma City Rampage select Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon spent 2 years in the SBDL on the Jackals team. This last season, they had a great season when it comes to the offense, scoring 46.2 points, all on good efficiency. And this just goes to show how terrible Jackals management is, that they couldn't even get into the playoffs with this player on the team. But Sailor Moon plays that small forward and center position, so that leads me to believe, with, of course, Pofanin on the team, we're looking at more of a small forward role for Sailor Moon on this squad. And now we are going back to Pittsburgh, or we would, but we have a trade to announce. Pittsburgh Ironmen are giving up their pick in exchange for a future Milwaukee first. Milwaukee is back on the clock. Last time they took Lemony Snicket in an attempt to fix that aging backcourt problem, and I think they're going to do it yet again. I think they're going to take another guard, and it seems I'm not going to have to wait long to find out, because we're going directly to the draft.
With the 23rd pick in the season 73 draft, the Milwaukee Maulers select Kevin Devon.
Javon Devon. I don't know why, but a player named Javon going to Milwaukee makes me kind of sad. That's not to say it's not a fantastic pick, of course. Let's take a look at some of the stats. Javon had an amazing one season on the Hyenas. He got 22.4 points a game, 8.8 assists, and having decent three-point percentage at just below the 0.4 mark you really want to get at. Along with that, we see some good steals, 2.3, showing that defensive initiative that you really want when it comes to players like this. He's been playing small forward, but we'll see exactly what he'll do on the Milwaukee Maulers when he gets there. Los Angeles, of course, is another one of those teams that had a lot of room to grow when it came to this draft, and they've made full worth of it, having multiple picks and another one coming up right now as we're going in to their second draft pick. This is pick number 25 so far. We have a lot more to go still, so don't worry. We got plenty of people to talk about and things to say. And right now, I'm going to shut up because we're going live to the draft.
With the 24th pick in the season 73 draft, the Los Angeles Rush select Johnny Tsunami.
Johnny Tsunami has had a bit of an under-the-radar career, but you can tell he has some of those flashes of defensive brilliance. That's really what we're talking about. That's his bread and butter. He has 2.3 and 2.9 when it comes to his stock numbers, and those are just the tip of the iceberg as to what he brings to a team. He is one of the best post defenders in the SBDL right now, and he's going to add that defensive prowess directly into the Rush's lineup and help them on that end of the court, which they so desperately need. When it comes to Charlotte, we got to talk about them just a little bit because they happen to have had the pick that got number 1. It was their 8% pick that went all the way to the top, but they traded it, and now they are facing consequences coming all the way down to the second round to get their first pick. But they're still a team that I've always thought had the potential to be playoff ready, and let's see what exactly they might need to push them over that edge. The Aviators are a very middling squad with about 1 or 2 strengths, and those strengths are their 3-point percentage, their free throw percentage. That is what differentiates them from the rest of the league. They have a lot to work on, but their strengths, when it comes down to it, are capable of winning them games. They just need someone who can work on the other side. I think they're going to take a rebounder, a defensive big man, somewhere around those lines. Maybe someone who can work with them to try and fill out the positions they're missing. They happen to have one of the best offensive guards in the league in Tom Baker. They have a good supporter in Martin Bullerice, and they have an efficient big man in Tony Silveresti. The things they really need is another guard that kind of plays the more defensive role. They have Havlicek at the small forward. He does a bit of everything. He's one of the most well-rounded players, maybe the most well-rounded player in the entire league. So he can really do anything. I think they're going to take a defensive guard or a defensive big man, one or the other. And let's see if I got that prediction right as we go to the draft.
With the 25th pick in the season 73 draft, the Charlotte Aviators select Gabriel Ochoa.
Well, that is the second Hydra player taking back-to-back, this time going to Charlotte. Gabriel Ochoa is a fantastic player, especially when it comes to being a facilitator and getting a little bit of pressure off the inside. They are great at passing, and they know when to go in and get that inside shot. Despite not shooting threes at all as a guard, Gabriel is one of the most capable guards when it comes to driving into lanes and getting efficient shots, shooting above 0.5 as a guard. Now, he's not exactly what I thought they would pick, but he's going to do just fine, and he's going to have one of the best offensive guards in the league to try and teach him how to get even better at driving into that paint, maybe even expanding his game to that three-point line if he so desires. Another team we haven't had the pleasure to talk about just yet, making their first pick in this draft, the San Diego Corsairs, are on the clock. Obviously, later into this draft, they may have had some of their options taken away, but there's still plenty of talent that can add on to this team. So before they make their pick, let's talk about what makes this team good and what could make them good enough to make it all the way to the playoffs. In terms of strengths, this team is efficient and good at a flowing offense. They are very good at that end of the floor. Their defense isn't awful either. It's not like that's a huge problem. It's just that their offense is better than what their position in the league might let you know. In terms of what they could improve on, their turnovers are tremendously bad. The second worst in the league. but they still have room to grow on just about everything. So they're not really limited here by picks in terms of what they need, but more by position. And let's talk about the positions available on the squad, because that just changed. Let's go to the trade. San Diego's player Clyde Hendricks is being exchanged for Boston's season 74 and season 75 first. That means they want that defensive big man. That's going to make some room over in San Diego as they decide who to draft. All right, let's see. They made that trade with something in mind, so let's go to the draft.
With the 26th pick in the season 73 draft, the San Diego Corsairs select Andres McGrath.
And would you look at the odds, a third Hydra player taken in a row. Anders McGrath had a fantastic year. He is one of the few specialists in this draft, only playing power forward position, and he does show some worth at that position, as we see 31.7 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal and half a block, all while shooting above 0.4 at 3 and just about 0.5 at the field goal percentage. He is a offensive monster that knows what he's doing, and he can definitely grow into the role that he might be given here in San Diego. We're going back to Pittsburgh. They have yet another pick. I'm happy for them. They're making a lot of progress this draft, and I feel like in a couple seasons, they're going to be scary with this many players. And let's see who's going to be part of that future squad with this next pick. We're going directly to the draft.
With the 27th pick in the season 73 draft, the Pittsburgh Ironmen select Balthazar Altis.
Balthazar Atlas happens to be one of those 3-and-D guys, but he does just a little bit more than that. He gets about 24.5 points this last season, all while shooting at that three-point line at 0.4 with a field goal percentage of 0.436. So he's making a lot of his baskets at that three-point line. We also see he has some defensive rebounds, he has some assists, and his steals ain't too shabby at 2. This is all leading to a person who can definitely develop into being a threat at that professional SBA level. Off that Pittsburgh pick, we go back to San Diego. If you remember, just 2 picks ago, they happened to have taken Andres McGrath. So it looks like they're going real quick. We're going right to the draft again.
With the 27th pick in the season 73 draft, the San Diego Corsairs select Randy Clemens.
Well, after that, whoever cares got drafted. We're going on to Arizona. The Phoenix Birds are back. They have another pick. They got it via Oklahoma City in a trade that happened earlier this year. Let's see what they get out of it as we go directly into the draft.
With the 29th pick in the season 73 draft, the Arizona Inferno select Bradley Gross.
Bradley Gross is a 6'3" shooting guard. He happened to have a couple of years on the whiteout, 3 to be exact. His first year, he didn't get to play that much, only 32 games, but since then, he stepped into the starter role, and he's had a fantastic transformation, going from 20 minutes and 4.8 points to 40 minutes and 25.2, taking on that responsibility and proving he deserves it at both ends of the field, not only doing good offensively, but getting some steals and some defensive prowess to go with that. We're very late into this draft, but Philadelphia is just getting their chance to step onto the board. They have some definite needs, and let's talk about that. They are one of the best offensive teams in the league, scoring just below only one team on average and doing so at a very efficient rate. Their offense needs no help. They're definitely looking for someone who can help either on the facilitating, rebounding, defensive. That's kind of the trifecta of players you're looking for here. It opens up a lot. And if they do take another offensive player, well, they can always get better at offense. No reason you can't. Just not what I would expect them to do. And let's see if my expectations are met as we go directly into the draft.
With the 30th pick in the season 73 draft, the Philadelphia Prowlers select Trent Wallace.
Trent Wallace had 2 years on the Hounds. He had a uptick in his last one specifically, going from 16 minutes to 44 minutes and taking all the responsibility that comes with. His most drastic improvement, his assist game. This person knows how to pass the ball just well enough that in an offensive setting like the Prowlers, will probably net him a good amount of return on that effort. New York back on the clock. There's very few names left, so there's not much to really discuss on their end, and we can tell because they're going directly to the draft.
With the 31st pick in the season 73 draft, the New York Rails select James Hawksworth.
James Hawksworth is a player I'm not too familiar with. This is another one that didn't play in the SBDL, so I don't really know exactly what their numbers are. But we do know is that the Rail want them on their team, and they're going to do fantastic there. We have the final team that's going to draft that hasn't drafted yet, St. Louis. They are a fantastic team. They do well in so many aspects of the game, and they don't really need anything, so this is going to be just a good addition onto their already elite squad. Let's take a look. St. Louis is one of the best when it comes to efficiency and rebounding, and those are, of course, two of the most important facets of the game. The only thing they really are struggling in is three-point percentage. They shoot very poorly from that end of the field, and they also do struggle a bit with assists, although not nearly as much as they do the three-point percentage. I imagine, although they don't have too many options, they're probably going to take whoever shoots the best three-point percentage. And we'll find out soon enough as we go to the draft.
With a 32nd pick in the season 73 draft, the St. Louis Battalion select Ethan Letterman Jr.
Ethan Letterman had 3 years on the Hounds. He had another one of those similar stories of starting out on the bench, moving up to the starting lineup. This last season, of course, was his most impressive. What we do see here, though, is that he had a drastic change in three-point percentage, going from .298 to .439, and now back down to .382. He's not super static yet. He's not sticking to a number here. So hopefully he's going to be able to figure that out. But three-point is a part of his game, and he's doing one thing right. Shooting better than the battalion team. And that's really the only measurement that matters here. Arizona is back on the clock as we're winding down this draft. Just a few more picks to make here. And the Inferno are obviously not wanting to keep us all here as they go right to the draft.
With the 33rd pick in the season 73 draft, the Arizona Inferno select Useless Fudge.
And with the final pick of the night before we start playing Taco Bell commercials over all the picks, we have the Las Vegas Jokers. They started this draft and they are going to end it as we go into the final draft pick.
With the 3rd pick in the season 73 draft, the Las Vegas Jokers select Tico Coke.
Taco Cook had a fantastic year. It's a shame he had to go into such a deep draft class because he definitely does not deserve to be known as the guy picked right before they started playing Taco Bell commercials. He had a great year, getting 1.5 steals, 1 block, all while doing 18 points and a little bit of everything. He has not entered the three-point zone of his game yet. Who knows if he will, but that's definitely something he can expand on in the future as he joins on the other great rookies that have joined the Jokers this draft.